really happened. No witnesses were called. No testimony is given. So, you know, the Republican Party likes to pretend that they care about rules, but the Republican Party does not care about rules. They do not care about the law. They do not care about the Constitution. They care about power. And they will do everything and anything possible, including breaking the law and inviting foreign interference into American elections in order to expand their power. And that's what they are going to show tomorrow if they vote on ending the Senate trial. But again, it's not an acquittal. There are no witnesses. And, you know, if you get to the point where you or your political party only care about the concentration of power above the law, above our oath, above the Constitution, then that is not a democracy. It is not, and frankly, it points to an erosion of the rule of law. It's tyranny. And we're at a very scary point, because what Republicans really want is to set a precedent that inviting foreign interference into our elections is okay. And if you can do that, then you could manipulate our elections and then just say, oh, well, the people have spoken. And that's a very scary precedent, and it's a very scary time. And that's, you know, again, why I said that I wasn't going to attend the State of the Union. We cannot legitimize that. And we cannot pretend that that is somehow normal. This is not normal. It's not normal. I didn't not attend the State of the Union because I disagree with the president. I'm happy to attend a State of the Union despite having intense disagreements with whoever is delivering that speech. Where we draw the line is the actual erosion of our constitutional norms in our institution and breaking the law. And that is completely different from mere policy disagreements. We're talking about the actual rule of law in the United States of America. And that is a much deeper systemic threat, an institutional threat, than just a policy disagreement. I'll take a couple more questions and then I'm going to hop off. Thank you all so much for coming in. A lot of folks are asking about thoughts on Pelosi tearing papers up at the end of the speech. I thought it was a pretty audacious move. I do wish that the president was not invited to deliver a State of the Union on this day. I think that there's a lot of complications around inviting an impeached president whose trial is not over yet to deliver a State of the Union and to have a profound amount of state ceremony and coverage focused on what he has to say. And there are a lot of members who are, who went that are now saying they either walked out in the middle of the speech or they said that they wish that they didn't go. And that is because the president peddled in misinformation for, 60 minutes straight or however long his speech lasted. And that is the consequence. And again, this is different than saying things you disagree with. We're talking about saying things that are patently false to be aired. And one of the biggest problems that we have in journalism right now is that journalists covering this White House are covering it like they're acting like stenographers and they're not acting like journalists. And so what they're doing is that they're just amplifying and quoting all of the false statements that the president says. And they don't know, and they took years struggling to call a lie, and to call racism. They still can't bring themselves to often call things racist. And, that is what it is. But when you invite someone to deliver a State of the Union that is, filled with patently false statements, that gets amplified and it gets almost aired without comment, despite the fact that there's a lot of false information there. So, I'm glad that she expressed her discontent. But I think we still need to talk about the larger problematic issue of him essentially giving a campaign speech as his State of the Union. It's not a State of the Union. It's just a rally. And you could hear that by Republican members yelling 4 more years. We're not supposed to engage in electioneering or that kind of behavior on the House floor. They can save that for their rallies where they yell, send her back or whatever. I'll do one more question and then I'm going to pop off here. Oh, someone's being very kind. How are you doing as a person? I know you're doing well politically, but I wonder how you're doing. I'm doing great. I'm doing well. Some days are stressful. Some days are more stressful than others. Obviously, being a woman of color with several million people following online means, and particularly being a Democrat and just being a woman in politics means that I'm going to receive a ton of vitriol, and especially with this president, a lot of the incoming is racist, misogynist, classist garbage. But that stuff doesn't really bother me because I really feel like if you are vocalizing hatred towards another person, I don't feel that. That blackens your heart. If you feel this need to follow people, listen to someone who you so deeply disagree with, someone who, for example, like you may hate and have to express that hate and do all of that. That's all happening in your heart. It's not happening in mine. And that's your soul that's blackening. It's not mine. And how I feel is, sorry. Like, I'm sorry that you have gotten to that place where you feel so badly about perhaps yourself that you need to put another down in order to feel worthy. But I can assure you that you don't have to put anyone else down to feel worthy. You are worthy on your own. And so it really doesn't bother me. It shouldn't bother you. Your worth should come from yourself, and your worth should come from people who love you, and your worth should come from the good that you are creating and putting out into the world. And don't listen to people who are criticizing you if they're not also shoulder to shoulder with you. And that's not to say that I shouldn't accept criticism or that all criticism is bad faith. I think a lot of people, especially in the political space, they rush to say that any criticism of them is because that person doesn't like them or they're in a political enemy or anything of that nature. And that's not true either. Criticism, I don't take criticism as hatred. They're not the same things. But you also you also can't take criticism seriously from people who are always hating. That you can just throw out the window. If there are people who are meaningfully engaging with you and, they're there to support you when you are standing up and doing something right, but they're also there to say, listen, this moment maybe should have happened differently. You can listen to that criticism and it's not done in bad faith. And I'm willing to engage in that. But if I don't worship at your cult of Trump, and so as a result, you're going to, hey, that's on you. And I hope you're enjoying your life. But I don't root myself in those principles. And I try to, like, if you hate me, I'm going to fight for you to get health care anyway. If you hate me, I don't want you to pay for college anyway. If you hate me, I want your kids to be fed and to go to school. If you hate me, I want you to, have the basic elements of living a good life. And you don't have to like me for me to want those things for you. And with that, just want to send you all a bunch of love, and take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and let's fight for a better world. Bye-bye.
I know you hating on me just cause you like my style. You know you hating on me, you know you like my style. I know you like my style, you know you like my style.